Joining us now is Rupesh Parikh, Managing Director, Senior Analyst at Oppenheimer with an outperforming $150 target on Walmart. Rupesh, welcome back. What's going to be the one or two key things to watch in these big-time numbers?
Yeah, so I think for Q4, the clear focus will be Walmart U.S. comps. So we're expecting at least a 5% increase in the quarter on top of a strong report last year. And then secondarily, it will be all about the guide for this upcoming year. So there's a lot of concerns out there about cost pressures. So last quarter, Walmart called out some supply chain headwinds. So the market will be very focused on the margins. And then secondarily, a lot of fears in the market out there on the low-income consumer, rising gas prices, significant inflation out there. So there are worries that the low-end consumer could slow going forward, and that's a key focal point on this report.
Yeah. Inflation is the biggest hidden tax in the world, particularly on the lower marginal income folks out there, because everybody pays the same for things like gasoline. So two ways to look at this, Rupesh, that Walmart is massive. They've got pricing power. Is it possible they're not going to feel the impacts of consumer prices as an input cost, what they buy, as much as maybe every other store out there?
Yeah, so I think, I think Walmart is better able to manage through the inflation. So our sense is, you look at the grocery category, we think they should be able to pass through low to mid-single digit food inflation, again, at least to start the year. And then, other categories as well, general merchandise, through our supplier coverage, we're seeing other suppliers raise prices as well in those categories. So I think there will be some pass through, throughout the entire enterprise. But the risk here is Walmart's all about low prices. So there could be a delay in passing through those higher prices, and that's where you could see a shorter-term margin squeeze.
Yeah, and by the way, and I don't want to get political, Rupesh, but we've seen companies come out on their earnings calls and say, well, we're paying more, but we're able to raise prices even more than our costs are up. And then you got members of Congress sort of going after them saying this is corporate greed. That's the reason for inflation. Does Walmart need to be careful if it does have pricing power? I mean, and I mean this from an investing perspective, in how much it talks about something like that.
Yeah, so typically Walmart is very careful on the call talking about raising prices. They're all about highlighting their low prices, even on investor calls. But right now, everyone is raising prices from Costco to Kroger to Albertsons. So I think they have the authority, in some ways to raise prices right now. So no, I don't expect any significant pushback. These are valid cost increases. Everyone's facing it. And we see it in the data every day. So in the latest reading, food inflation was up in the high single digits. So no, I don't expect pushback this time.
Do we have any indication of how they're doing on the labor front? Are they? I was just at Phoenix Airport, and if you've been to Phoenix Airport recently, almost every restaurant is closed. Maybe a couple are open. Starbucks actually was shut down because it had no workers. And I thought, how's Walmart doing? Are they able to get people they have 1 million employees plus in the United States, and if so, how much are they paying them? Because once you pay somebody more, you're not going to dial that back.
Yeah, so Walmart's been aggressive in raising wages. So last year they did have some wage increases. And I think the labor situation is improving. So during the quarter, we did see some impacts around the Omicron variant. But through my store checks, Walmart stores have been well staffed, and all the retailers out there, and even some suppliers, they are calling out an improving labor situation. So I think as we move past the Omicron variant, I think suppliers are going to be better shape, and I think retailers as well. I think the labor pool is going to continue to improve. So labor is not a concern, and I think with all the wage increases that Walmart's already taken, I think they're in great shape to manage through this current environment.